guys, I'm back for more game chat today. I wanted to discuss something that's been cooking in my head for quite a while, and it's been hard to put all of this and this whole process into words, but I wanted to talk about what Dark Souls and Bloodborne as a series has taught me about life. Now, about 2 years ago, I started to get into my first game of the series, Bloodborne. And at first I didn't know practically anything about the series. All I knew is that they were hard to play. And one day my friend and coworker, he just asked, "Hey, have you ever played Bloodborne?" And I said, "Well, no, aren't those games really hard?" But he gave me just a really simple comment that hit it off for me. He said, "Hey, I know that you've been playing video games your whole life. I know you can do this. Like, it's hard, but I think you're gonna like this a lot." So a couple months go by, and it was in the back of my mind. I was playing a bunch of other games, and then I kind of ran out. So I was in a dilemma because I do use video games as a way to cope with anxiety and depression in a healthy way, that I can channel those feelings into a sense of accomplishment. And it had been a few months since I've had a new game, so it had started to be quite difficult. So one day, a couple months later, my partner, Gingy, and I went to GameStop and, casually looking at games as usual. And there was a lull in between games, and it had been a while since I'd really played anything of worth. And I just saw it on the shelf, and I thought, it wasn't usually the type of game that I would play. And right then and there, I just read the back, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot. It's on sale. What can I lose? This might be a good experience. I took it home, and it immediately scared the shit out of me. Now, this is not the type of game I normally play. I love action-adventure, as these games are, but I really like the fluffy Zelda type of stuff where it's medium, it's not too serious and not too lighthearted. It's a good balance. But Bloodborne really took me by surprise. It was incredibly dark. It took my heart in the first moments. But at the same time, once I actually got into it, I was like, all right, I'm really going to give this a chance. I want this to work for me. And I went through Yharnam. I knocked on doors and then listened to the people, and they immediately resented you and saying, it's all your fault. Like, what's a lousy outsider doing here? And just at the same time, I was thinking, oh God, these people hate me. But then that made me think, though, and that started a cycle that has not ended in 2 years. It just made me think, why are these people blaming me? It caused a mystery and just sparked this thought in my head that it kept making me thinking about it, even when I wasn't playing. And, not much really does that. There's so much in this world of just immediate satisfaction and having storylines sort of spoon-fed to you that there's not a lot of mystique left in video games. So having something like that, you are on a mission. I knew from the back of the box that, there was a scourge that turned people into beasts, but that's all I knew. And just hearing those people say, hey, it's all your fault, it was like, but why? What's going on? There's something wrong here. And just that mystery propelled me forward. And at first, it was extremely hard. There were times where I almost gave up, especially in the central Yharnam and Cathedral Ward areas. There were two very distinct parts where I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I actually took a couple months in between each area, and that's why it took me so long to do my first playthrough. But even if I put it on the shelf for a few months, that mystery kept me thinking, and it kept me propelling forward. Even still, the darkness was still affecting me, and I was genuinely afraid. And I was thinking, I did this thing to combat anxiety, but this is causing anxiety. Why am I doing this? But it was just that story and the little tidbits of story that were there kept propelling me forward, which is a huge reason of why I loved it. But and this will get a little serious, so bear with me. About 6 years ago, my mom passed away, and it's, I've dealt with loss before. I've lost friends and I've lost family, but there was no one quite as close to me as losing her, and just it was incredibly hard on me. And even then, it was, a couple of years had gone by already, and at that point, I had been kind of following the secret of doing my best to think positively and keep everything as sunshiny as possible, within reason, of course. But at the same time, one thing that I didn't know about the secret was that, or something I didn't think about, is that it holds you responsible for the bad things that happen in life as well as the good. And, going through, once I lost her, I got into just TV shows, anime, video games that were kind of dark. And that's okay. I like that I did that. They all had a good message to them, and Bloodborne was one of them, even still. And I was, and at that point I was wondering why, and it took me quite a while to figure this out. But one thing that I love that the series as a whole has taught me, that it's okay to sometimes know that the world is not always going to be in your favor. And you know what, if something bad happens to you, it's not your fault. That's the nature of the world. I no longer follow, I think positive, and I use humor for everything. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I'm not shackled any longer by the thought that, oh no, if I don't think positive, bad things are gonna happen to me, or if a bad thing happened to me, it's because I wasn't thinking positive enough. I think that does me a disservice. It doesn't help my anxiety or my depression, and it did my mom a disservice too, because now I can at least be at peace knowing that she is in a better place. With Dark Souls and Bloodborne, the reason why I came to that conclusion is because these worlds are out to get you. Everything in it, with very few exceptions, are pretty much trying to kill you. But even so, when you persevere and when you get through those obstacles, there is no feeling quite like that. And it is a metaphor for life, and it's a metaphor for living. So in my Bloodborne experience, I was so driven by the story that I would always pick it up again. And even still, I'm still playing like New Game plus at this point, and I'm thinking of going into speedrunning possibly. But it kept me driving forward. And then I got to this point where I went through Central Yharnam, and that one point where there's like 20 guys near the bonfire. That was a huge accomplishment. I felt amazing. There was nothing like that. Just being able to get through that was incredible. The fact is that there are things in this world that are going to be difficult. There are going to be tremendous obstacles, whether metaphorically or physically, but these games helped to shape me in that it made me think that maybe I can manage these things. I used to, ever since my mom passed away, I did have dreams, and they were nightmares. I would have nightmares of me being chased by horrible things. And I was in the middle of playing Bloodborne, and then one night I had one, and then the things were chasing me, and then I had this change in my mind because the game was starting to affect me. And I thought, instead of, oh god, I gotta run, I have to hide, I thought, wait a second, I can face this. I have the ability inside of me to even defeat these things or chase these things and get them away. And ever since then, I have not had that dream ever again. I have a different mindset. I think now that these are obstacles that I can overcome. So in the Soulsborne series, part of the entire premise of it is that the game will put obstacles in front of you. Now, some of these obstacles you may even think are unfair, and some of them are incredibly difficult and incredibly frustrating. But there's always a tactic, and if not one, several tactics that you can use to overcome them. Now, with that's something that in this world of immediate gratification, it's harder and harder to get that type of lesson. And also another thing about the demands of the outside world is that a lot of the time you think that life demands for you to be perfect. Now, if you're a human being, the truth is that nobody's perfect. And if somebody looks perfect or even says they're perfect, come on, that isn't true. That we're all human. So the perfection isn't something that can be achieved. And what we learn from a lot of the time is failure. So going through an obstacle, finding it extremely hard and extremely frustrating, those are things that we're all going to face in life. And the one thing that the game does that I think is extremely effective is that it proves that is okay. It's okay to come to an obstacle. It's okay to fail. In these games, you're going to die a lot of times. And in life, you're going to have setbacks that you might fail at and fail repeatedly. But I think the point is to persevere and keep moving forward. Before I had this experience with the game, it would have set me into a mindset where I didn't think I could move forward, or I'd have to do something completely different. I'd have to completely back off of the course that I was on. But now it gives me a chance that, you know, if I experience failure or if I make a genuine mistake, which happens, I'll step back and wonder, hey, what happened here? What did I do wrong? What was in the situation that was difficult? And then I figure out what I could have done better and what I could do better in the future. Now I am so much more likely to push forward and do my best to try to overcome that situation instead of going around and trying to avoid it. So I think that these games not only being extremely fun, with stories that they're not spoon-fed to you. They can be convoluted, but at the same time you can figure them out and you can have your own interpretation of things. Now, I'll tell you, my favorite anime ever is Revolutionary Girl Utena. And Utena is a little bit like that. It has a surface story, and so many people will tell you, hey, I didn't understand that. That's because they didn't look beyond the surface. One of my favorite things about it, and I was 14 years old when I got into it, it's been 16 years since then, and it's still my very favorite that I've ever gotten into. Part of the reason is because when you saw something, sometimes it would make you think, what happened there? Or why? Or is that really what happened? So you'd have to sit down and figure it out for yourself. And you would think, what really happened here? What are the metaphors? What's the imagery? What does this mean? So because of that, like, it made me crave other media like that. There's so few in this world, and I kept looking and looking and getting disappointed until I found Soulsborne. Because in both games, you can know as much or as little of the plot as you like, or as you look for. You can easily go on YouTube to look at lore videos, which is awesome because there are so many different interpretations. But at the same time, you could even independently go in yourself, read all the item descriptions, like even draw your own conclusions about things. Like there are conclusions that I think of that I've never heard before, or I'll discuss them with friends and they'll have ideas that completely blow my mind. I get so excited when one of my friends either gets into it or I find out that they've been into it, because I'll go to them and we'll exchange ideas with one another. We all have different interpretations of the events that happen, and that's just one thing that I can't get enough of. Now, one wonderful thing is that I haven't played all the games yet. So there are a couple left that I still need to explore, and I'm actually really thrilled about that. I'm thrilled to have more to dive into, because essentially Miyazaki said that he's either ending it or not going to have a new game for a while. Now, secretly, I'm hoping that Bloodborne 2 will be at E3, even though I know there's no guarantees and it's not exactly likely, but I'm still excited. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I know that this one took a different turn or a different overall mood, and normally I have at least some comedy in there, but I hope you enjoyed, and have an awesome day, guys. Peace.